All right, thank you, Jenny. Would you all take a look around your tables and look for one of these? I think there should be enough for everyone to grab one of these. Go ahead and grab one of these. If there's not enough at your table, raise your hand and we'll get some more to your table. If you got one this morning, just keep the same one you got. If you don't, we're going to use this throughout this series, and at the end of my message, we're going to need it. So I just want to make sure you had one in your possession, something to write with too, as we work through this. So, all right, looking forward to getting this series started. This is a 4-week series, which is going to take us up to the Sunday before Easter, and then Easter Sunday. Can you believe it's that close already? Sometimes January and February seem like they took forever. And now it seems like we're running through March, and way faster, almost halfway through March here. So the Circle Maker. Circle Maker is about a Jewish story from the Jewish tradition about a man named Hani, and he was a very powerful, his prayers seemed to always be answered and spoken I guess would be the best way to say it. So a little background on the Circle Maker. Here's the story that really brought the legend of the Circle Maker to life. Wherever he was living at the time was experiencing drought conditions, and this was just, it was difficult for the town, for the people, for everything to not have the water. So they went to Hani and they said, "Would you pray for rain for us?" So he said, "Okay." So he walked to kind of the front of town, and what he did, he drew a circle in the ground with his staff. He went around a couple times and drew a nice big circle, and he stayed on the inside of it. And people kind of gathered around, and they were kind of watching him and listening to him. And this is the first thing he said here. He prayed, "Lord of the universe, I swear before your great name that I will not move from this circle until you have shown me mercy upon your children." Powerful prayer there, huh? Yeah, kind of very gutsy, like, "Hey God, listen." Yeah, he called him out, right? "I'm not moving until you do what I asked for." And so he prayed for the rain, and it started raining. It actually started raining. Not a heavy like deluge, but it started raining. And then he went on to his second one, because he was like, "Well, okay, that's good." But he said, "I'm not praying for such rain have I prayed, but for rain that will fill the cisterns, the pits, and the caverns." So he said, he's still in that circle. He's like, "I'm not just praying for a little bit of rain to get us by. I want enough rain that's going to sustain us for the entire year, to take care of us, pull us out of this drought." So that's what he prayed for. And guess what? It rained heavier, and more water came, and more water came until everything was full. Then after that, he kept praying another one. He said, "I've not prayed not for such rain have I prayed, but for rain of your favor, your blessing, and your graciousness." So he kind of took it from this physical helping us with the rain into a very spiritual time of favor, blessing, and graciousness. And that was the legend of Hani, the Circle Maker. So we can take a lot from that, the power of prayer. And this idea of just circling prayer. I don't know about you, but on my calendar, dentist appointment, and I circle it in red. I don't like to, but I do, right? Because I don't want to forget it. It's important to me. Or a concert, and you'll circle it. And the other things we just kind of write on our calendar. But those important things, we circle. Sometimes maybe you just feel a little foolish trusting God. Right? Sometimes you think, really, did God just ask me to do that? That makes no sense. I'm not talented for it, but you want me to do this? Really, God? I mean, look at Noah. Noah was in the middle of a land where it had not rained for a long, long time. And God said, "Build me an ark, Noah." Noah's like, "What? No, what? I don't know how to do that." And he had to feel foolish as people kept coming and like, "What are you doing? Why are you building an ark?" So maybe sometimes trusting God might just feel a little foolish. Speaking of feeling foolish, there's this little video that popped up this week. It's been seen millions of times. This is off of the BBC. They were doing a live interview, and the guy was looking real professional and talking about, I don't know, the affairs of the state. And then his kid got loose from the mom and came into the interviews. Take a look at what happens. You can tell this threw him off a little bit.
And what will it mean for the wider region? I think one of your children has just walked in. I mean, shifting sounds in the region. Do you think relations with the North may change?
I would be surprised if they do. No, pardon me. My apologies.
The region.
My apologies. North Korea. South Korea's policy choices on North Korea have been severely limited.
Oh my goodness. You turn your back on those kids for a second and they are gone, aren't they? Oh, what a funny situation. I'm sure he felt a little foolish. You can see it in his demeanor and his words. He just had to stop and close his eyes. Oh my God. So, does trusting God feel like that at times? I think he did. Drawing circle around our prayers may even seem foolish attitudes where we write it down and circle it and really focus on it. But let's see the kind of God that we serve and what He can do with our prayers. All right. The greatest stories in history always begin with risk, and the same is true with the stories of your life. So when it comes to your prayers and how you pray to God, is a very important thing in developing your relationship with God. And so we're going to kind of work through that as we talk. So last week we actually kind of spent a lot of time with Moses over the last couple weeks in his story. So we're going to kind of pick up in the middle of his story. So God had asked Moses to deliver these people from slavery. To go to Pharaoh and say, hey, let these people go. Talk about feeling foolish, right? That's exactly what it did. So they're actually out in the desert. They're wandering, and that's where we kind of pick up in the story. This is in Numbers chapter 11. So we're going to kind of work through this a little bit tonight. It says, when the people complained intensely in the Lord's hearing, the Lord heard and became angry. Then the Lord's fire burned them and consumed the edges of the camp. When the people cried out to Moses, Moses prayed to the Lord, and the fire subsided. The name of that place was called Taberah because the Lord's fire burned against them. It's right there in the very first line. When the people complained. So here they were being delivered from slavery, delivered from being told what to do and working and getting beat and the worst possible life. And they're complaining to God that this isn't good enough with what they have been given. Right? The complaining didn't stop there, so let's continue with verse 4. It says, the riffraff among them had a strong craving. Even the Israelites cried again, and they said, who will give us meat to eat? We remember the fish we ate in Egypt for free. The cucumbers for free. The melons, what were they? Free. For free. The leeks. I have no idea what the leeks are. The onions were for free, and the garlic was for free. Now our lives are wasting away. There's nothing but manna in front of us. And their question to God was, who will give us meat to eat? Where's the beef? Right? Where's the beef? Now, mind you, God has been providing them with manna, with food, all along. But they weren't, it wasn't good enough for them. It wasn't meat. They wanted meat to eat. So they said, well, who will give us the meat? Boy, it's easy to get distracted, isn't it? You're getting pulled out of slavery, you've been supplied, you've got a leader, and then they complain about it. Alright, so you hop up to verse 18 here. To the people you will say, make yourselves holy for tomorrow, then you will eat meat. For you've cried in the Lord's hearing, who will give us meat to eat? It was better for us in Egypt. Now this next line here, this is the Lord will give you meat, and you will eat. Parents, right? Oh, you say you're hungry after I just worked on this food? You're going to eat, right? That's what God's saying right here. Oh, the Lord will give you meat, and you will eat, and it will be incredible. And it goes on, you won't eat just for 1 day, oh no, or 2 days, or 5 days, or 10 days, or 20 days, but for a whole month, until it comes out of your nostrils and nauseates you, you will eat meat. You've rejected the Lord who's been with you, and you have cried before Him, saying, why did we leave Egypt? Moses said, the people I'm with are 600,000. And you're saying, I will give them meat, and they will eat for a month? Remember, they're wandering through a desert. This makes no sense to Moses. None whatsoever. Where's meat going to be? How are you going to do this? Can flocks and herds be found and slaughtered for them? 600,000 people. Or can all the fish in the sea be found and caught for them? So frankly, Moses was just saying, something doesn't add up. And it doesn't. In all sense, if you're in that position and you're wondering, it doesn't add up. But you know, that's what God's in the business of. He's in the business of adding things up for us when it doesn't make sense to us. He's in the business of when we pray and it doesn't make sense to make sure it happens. So several years ago, I worked at a place called Stark County Educational Services Center, and I had worked at Worcester High School for just a couple years, and then they came and said, "Hey, would you like to work for us, Stark County Educational Service Center, up on 38th Street in Canton, and we'll be a tech geek," is basically what they said. Help tech things out and help all the schools with everything we can. So I was there for a couple years, and I enjoyed it, but then there's a lot of transition, a lot of turnover. You know how things change at work. And so I wasn't really feeling it there. They just gave me a real nice raise, though, so that was cool. But then at the same time, somebody from Minerva contacted me and said, "Hey, we'd love for you to come down and work in Minerva and for our tech stuff. Are you interested?" I'm like, sure. You know, I wasn't super happy there, so yeah. They're like, "Well, great, here's the package, you know, here's how much, it's $10,000 less than you're getting now." Something doesn't add up here, right? And so Jennifer and I talked and prayed about it, like, well, I'm not real happy there, and you know how you bring stuff home with you when you're not real happy, affecting family life, and well, down here it would be different, it would be in the school, and so we were really feeling kind of torn, should be or should not. And then we eventually took it, and then I moved down to the job and took the $10,000 pay cut, you know, and things went through our checkbook and kind of readjusted to make sure everything worked out fine. And it wasn't but like maybe my first weekend in Minerva, or maybe even before I got here. I had a friend, a family friend call me, and he had worked in Minerva all of his life as a teacher. And he said, "Hey, you know what, I'm retiring this year, and the car I have to drive down, it's ugly as sin, but it works great, it gets 40 miles a gallon, you can have it, because I know you're going to Minerva." All right, I'll take it. Robinade blue, disgusting, it's loud, but it never broke down on me. I drove it back and forth for years down there, and you kept driving it. But man, what a blessing that was. You see, it didn't add up. Just like God doesn't add up for things. It didn't add up to take $10,000 less, right? It didn't add up to that a car just shows up. Have you ever been given a free car? It's like, here. Like, wow. And then, you know, when that happens, you're like, wow, God has got his hand on this, doesn't he? Just ignore that. New program we're putting in place here. It's our workout room. Everything okay back there? This building is it's just wonderful, and so we're trying our nursery up here, friends, because it was chaos downstairs with all the kids we have. So we're trying this. So we'll work through this and see how this is going to work out. All right. So and on top of all this, you know, Jennifer and I, in all of our wisdom, decided, well, this is also a great time to start tithing 10% straight off the top. So we took $10,000 less. We move into a new, you know, place like that, and then we decide, yeah, let's go for it with our tithing for 10%. And so honestly, in our checkbook, we just write 10% every month, and we're like trusting God big on this because it doesn't add up, right? Because we look at our bills and we look at the income, and it doesn't add up. But then every time we write that check, it adds up. God is in the business of making it add up. This isn't the first time he's done this. Look at this, Mark 6. The story might be familiar to you. He said to them, "How much bread do you have? Take a look." After checking, they said, 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish. He directed the disciples to seat all the people in groups as though they were having a banquet on the grass. They sat down in groups of hundreds and 50, so about what we have in here, right? And then he took the 5 loaves of the 2 fish, looked up to the heavens, he blessed them. Look at that. He blessed it before it even happened. A lot of the times we want to wait till the blessing happens and then say thank you, God. Now Jesus shows us here, say thank you before it even happens, right? Thank you for this blessing. He broke the loaves in pieces, gave it to his disciples, and set it before the people. He also divided the 2 fish among them all. 5 loaves of bread, 2 fish, does not equal 5,000 people. And when they wrote this, they only counted the men on this. 5,000 had eaten. So you added women and children. We're talking 10 to 12 to maybe even 15,000 people. Right? It doesn't add up. So when you start circling your prayers and things don't add up, God's with you. God gets it. That's exactly what God is about. You see, if you put what you have in God's hands, it won't add up. It will just simply multiply. You'll be overwhelmed with graciousness. You'll be blessed beyond belief. Yeah, I took a $10,000 pay cut and did a different job. You end up with a car that helps us get here or there. It just adds up. So what do you need is circle prayer. Some things coming to mind, things at work, things at home, things personally. What is it that you can circle in prayer? Now, if we hop back to the Lord and Moses, the Lord said to Moses, "Is the Lord's power too weak for you?" Pretty interesting conversation Moses and the Lord are having. Am I not good enough for you? That's what he's saying, right? Is my power too weak for you? Interesting question there. You see, the size of prayer depends on the size of our God. And this is an individual thing as we pray. What do we believe our God can do? Each of us individually. Do you believe that your God can help you find that perfect parking space? Do you believe that your God can help you take care of disease and family issues? Where is it when it sits down to pray? What do you believe God can do? I posted something on my blog this week, and I've actually got a lot of response from it, and even the comments below, because I put in the statement of, it's great to believe in God, but do you also believe what God will do for you? There's a difference there of just believing God and believing what God can do. You see, we aren't talking about a Santa's list here.
I have a testimony I'd like to give you.
Please. Let me bring in Mike, okay, Don?
Okay.
Here you go.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Joan and I were going to a church, a small church in Florida, and the church had fallen onto financial difficulties. So the preacher stood up and said, well, we're going to have a prayer service, and all we're going to do is pray that we can solve the problem that we have, this money problem. Well, it so happened that they did have property that somebody had donated, but I think they had it for many years, 10 maybe, I don't know, and never sold. So we got together and we prayed that it be sold, and it was sold within a couple of weeks for $350,000, solved our financial problems. But the bottom line is, we never did it again. Never prayed again. We never asked God again for solving any problems. So, you know, and this is what we need to be doing if we're going to have prayer answered.
Right. Continue through the prayer process. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that, Don. Yeah, we aren't talking about just the Santa's list here where I'm sure we'd all love $1 million, right? But that's not God's will. That's us putting that on our list to say, hey, give that to us, or a new car or whatever it may be. We're talking about really connecting with God's will and seeing what it is that God will do through prayer too. You see, with God, there is no big or small. There's no easy or difficult. There's no possible or impossible. God just makes it adds up. And that's what we can take when we really get into our prayer life. You see, when God gives you a vision, God will make provision for it. Much like they did there. What a great story, but then carry it on, right? Continue with it.
Continue, that's the word.
So we're excited to really focus our time on this as we head into Easter. I'm real excited to see what happens here as a church. As we're getting the kids, getting the youth on this same program, the adults with those 2 small groups, it's going to be an exciting time. So this brings us to our little prayer journal here. Would you grab that for me? Grab this. And on the inside, go ahead and flip it open and stick your name inside there, right in here. And put your prayer journal. See, a lot of times we pray about stuff, and we don't know if we got an answer or if God forgot about it or what. And what we're going to find out is we're going to write some things down here for our prayer journal. Things we want, things for the church we'll pray about. And then we'll come back next week and we'll look at that. You can leave this here if you'd like. You can take it with you if you'd like. But just try to always bring it back these next 4 weeks as we go through this. My guess is we might even end up filling this thing all the way out here. But to really intentionally circle some things in prayer and lift them up to God. So for New Way alone, just for the church, then we'll add some more things on there. A building has really been on our mind. Just like the story we heard there, right? Is it this building? Is it another building? Is it another location? We're doing incredible and awesome, great things here. We average more at this place for what we're doing than the average United Methodist Church in the entire United States when they meet. You know, that's just a God thing. It's not an any person thing. That is a God thing. Where something is really working here. Continue to reach new people. Our morning service is going really well. It had a very nice, I don't know what the numbers were this morning, but continue to see that grow and continue to reach new people. We never want to be this country club that's just closed off to people. Our finances, as we continue, again, in the right direction, we're moving that way, but that's going to help us take care of a lot of problems, like our kids in the back and our kids downstairs and all that kind of stuff. And simply to tear down barriers. We never want to be a church that puts up barriers that stop people from coming in. You know, when it comes down to it, we want people to know Jesus Christ. And how can we do that? How can we get them in here? So those are the 4 things I had for a church. I know we mentioned the Haupt family. Maybe write that down on yours. People battling that terrible disease of cancer. Right? We'll do a group meet this morning and tonight called Life Support. Put that on our prayers. Does anyone have anything else? You can put your own personal stuff on here. You can even put unspoken if you want. This is for you to keep with you. If you want something for the whole group, you can do that as well. Okay. All right. Let's wrap up tonight's message with time of prayer then. Okay, join me in prayer. God, we come to you. We come to you in a time of excitement, maybe it's a time of worry, maybe it's an uncertain time, we're not exactly sure what's going on in our personal life, our personal journey with you. Maybe it's an exciting time, Lord, where we just have never felt closer to you. But Lord, we bring these prayers to you. And we know that you can make it add up. We know it makes no sense to us. You're talking to us and speaking to us and leading us and guiding us where it just doesn't make sense. That's awesome. It reminds us of the power that you bring and that the power you have. And God, help us to not be a one prayer wonder where we ask you for something and you provide it and we just let it go. Help us to continue to develop this relationship where we're just praying, being a praying people. We'll be with us these next several weeks. We take a focus on this, write down these things. The Lord is going to show us how you work in our lives. We want to know your will for us. To know the will of God, to be close to it. God, be with us this week as we add to our notebook, add to our prayers. Let this be the start of a tremendous movement. Not just a series that we talk about and then it disappears. God, we lift these up to you. We seek change that can only be found through you. Not only for our church, but for our families, for our individuals, for our communities, for our places of work. We bring this to you. In a few moments, we're going to bring our offering up and give it to you. We just want to say thank you for providing for us. And because of that, we're so thankful we have got to give back. It's just a natural response to give back to you. Lord, we pray over this offering that we bring, that you might do with it what you will. We just read about it. That you take it and multiply it and Help us continue to grow and to reach new people. To be a force of change right here in this community. Right where you put us in Stark County, Lord. Help us to share your love. Thank you for all the wonderful people in here who've committed to knowing you and loving you and growing in a relationship with you. We ask all this in the name of your Son, Jesus. Amen.